I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus, I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus, I was evil. I never should.
I also got a couple new patches. I know. I've got patch update. I haven't put them on this, so I got Rebel Alliance.
All right, yeah.
It's gonna go on my back, like upper back.
Yeah.
And then, do you know what Taylor Ham is? I bet you don't, right? It's a very New Jersey thing. So the proper thing to call it is, hold on, let me cross out this part. So it's like a deli meat, and it's very New Jersey. It's made in Jersey, but so the divide, and you're gonna get some Jersey knowledge darts here, some factoids. There's a clear divide between North and South Jersey on what to call this meat. It's like a pink meat, comes in like a big fat tube, like a big girthy tube. And North Jersey people call it the proper name, which is Taylor Ham. But South Jersey people, I keep doing the wrong thing, call it pork roll, which is incorrect. So if you ever see it, make sure you call it the right name. So that's your Jersey. That's your Jersey facts of the week.
Oh, so when I never go to New Jersey, like I'll
the more you know. You can come. You want to come sometime?
Yeah. Can I crash in your bed?
Absolutely not. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can't stay here. You're not staying in my house. No, it's me and my cats. We got a good thing going on here.
Oh God.
What let's introduce the show.
All right. This is the Reckless Pork cast.
Taylor Ham cast. Damn it. I just went over it.
Yeah. See, I can't go to Jersey.
My cat's caught in my wire. All right.
Episode
Actually,
32.
where I live now is pork roll country, and I'm like behind enemy lines here. Yeah. It's one of the things my girlfriend's like, look, I'll like the sports teams you like.
Yeah.
I can get into the movies and shows you like, but I can't say Taylor Ham. And I'm like, well, that's something I have to ruminate on. But we'll see. It might be what really, drives the wedge between us.
Yeah, I think you should divorce your girlfriend.
Well, if anything's gonna do it, it's this topic. But she's lovely.
Speaking of divorce, I saw someone.
what a segue.
There is, and this is creative. This is arts related. There's a Twitter account that I follow called Threatening Music Notation. And it's just like sheet music, but it's like people just throw in like they'll write in like random crap. And it's just humorous. It's more like music theory, nerdy crap.
Yeah, it sounds like very, very inside baseball, like a very niche group of people.
Yeah,
which is
but
cool.
I feel like,
it's cool. I like those communities.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, not that one, but others.
But there's they had this one meme where it was like me saying DJs are not musicians because all they're doing is just sitting down and they're just tapping on keys, and then it has like, oh, but then a pianist is going like this, and then somebody like and then somebody wrote under it, this is one of the causes for my divorce.
Oh wait, I saw that. I saw you tweet that.
I retweeted that.
Yeah. What is your take on DJs?
I think they're musician adjacent.
I was very into that scene. I went through an EDM phase, like most of us red blood Americans did during like the 2011 to 2013. There's that EDM, and I've heard that like the real ones, or maybe not even, but like actually mix on stage, which I think does take skill. The others, when they're like doing stuff with knobs and other devices, it's just there's messing with the volume. Like it's not.
Yeah. So it's funny. I used to have a much more critical view of them, of DJs. Just whatever. You're just standing there, just pushing buttons, like whatever. But in over the last few months, there's some like electronic music and some ambient music where I'm like, okay, like I can appreciate the musical talent that went into this. It's different. It's not theory. You're not learning actual music, but there is the application of taste.
Well, I always thought they were different things. Like I don't know. There's atmosphere for Avicii, who rest in peace. I love Avicii. He's kind of my doorway into EDM. And there's a atmosphere for, you know, a lead guitar, a bass, a drummer, and a lead singer, like or guitar. I think the latter takes much more skill. But it doesn't mean that EDM's not fun. I just never I just never really compared them. I always thought them
right. I mean, it's like comparing like the Avengers to the Godfather, where it's just sort of like,
dude, I'm glad you said that, because not to completely change topics, I have a confession to make, and I know we did an episode on this. I might be turning on the whole superhero thing.
Turning which direction?
The bad one, the anti one, the like. Like, dude, I can't. It's non-fun. It's everything. Like, I know we said, I think to summarize our episode on this, it was like, it's good because it puts people in theaters. They're entertaining. They're fun, right? But like, I think it was different. And I've been reflecting on. I've been thinking about this way more than I should be. Like, I had a whole conversation with my brother about it. Who's like, he's really into. He was one of those guys who like found the list of what Marvel movies to watch in order and did that. I think maybe over COVID and over summer. And he was like pretty kind of agreeing with me too. It's like it's everything, because it's not. It used to be like a movie or two a year. Now it feels like it's every movie, and every actor is a villain or one of the heroes, and it's every show. You know, I go on Hulu or Netflix, and it's just it's everyone's in fucking tights and a cape. And I think it's starting. Oh my! I know, and I don't want to be, you know, angry guy yells at cloud, but I catch myself like rolling my eyes. And the thing is that the Marvel movies I've seen, and it's not just Marvel, DC. I've always said I like kind of the grittier ones. I'm probably gonna start the Batman tonight. And probably finish it tomorrow. I like that. Even those I think can be kind of funny sometimes. Like they've overdid that too. But the ones I see, I tend to like. Like I've seen Civil War, Black Panther, Captain Marvel. Like I didn't dislike any of them, and I liked some, and I thought some were great. But it was like I remember when the Sam Raimi Spider-Man came out, like the Tobey Maguire. That was like an event. It was like a huge thing because it was, and I feel like now it's just like kind of lost, and it's almost getting kind of, I don't know. It's starting to be overwhelming.
Yeah, they've definitely saturated the market. No, definitely. I like. I'm a pretty big fan of most Marvel movies and superhero movies in general. But yeah, I can definitely empathize with that argument of like, yeah, it was when there were a handful of per year, but now it's like every month there's a Marvel movie. Now there's a Disney Plus show. Now there's a DC movie. Now another Marvel movie. Another DC show. And then there's a cartoon. There's the animated version.
Right. How many Spider-Mans fucking, like, in the past 3 years? How many Spider-Mans have come out?
I don't know, like 10, 20.
Like there's the animated ones. I mean, there's the trio. Then there's one Latino, and then there's a black one also who's like animated. Like it's so confusing. I don't know. I don't want to be that grouchy guy, but I've been catching myself. It's like, oh Jesus Christ, like another fucking person in tights and a cape.
Well, speaking of, actually, like this is totally accidental when I compared a Marvel movie to The Godfather. Francis Ford Coppola, who has been pretty open about his hatred of superhero movies, actually praised Deadpool. He's like, I love Deadpool. Like that's one of the few exceptions like that I'll allow.
You know what's funny? I don't like Deadpool.
Oh, really?
I did not like Deadpool. I did not find it charming. I found it annoying. I love Ryan Reynolds. So I take back what I just said a few minutes ago because I didn't really think of Deadpool. Is Deadpool Marvel? Oh, okay. Well, I did not like Deadpool, actually. It was okay. Like, I think I rated it, given like the 60s or something. So, like, I found it annoying. But anyway, on that note,
The Godfather likes it, so I guess you're wrong.
Yeah,
sorry.
He does. And then I brought up the another topic we talked about in an episode was Ridley Scott and Last Duel, right? And he was kind of being old man yells at cloud. And my brother was like, what's The Last Duel? I'm like, exactly. Like, that's the point. That's a really good movie. I mean, I also am partial to it because it's like my favorite shit. Knights and law, like very cool. But and like a rape allegation and a duel in medieval France, like some of my favorite shit. But he's like, I've never even heard of this. I'm like, that's and this had Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver. So like, I don't know, kind of trying to prove my point. Anyway, before we get into our main topic or two, I do want to do. So I'm starting a new segment, and this is going to be definitely for our more online listeners, especially those who follow me on Twitter, which is where a lot of this shit comes from. I'm starting a new segment called "She's Not Going to Sleep with You" of the week, where this is going to be men who are tweeting things that clearly are just used as pretext to sleep with women. This is from George Hahn. I don't know who he is, but he's a blue check, so I don't feel bad saying his name. If it's not, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do non-blue checks. Depends who they are. But he's very good-looking man. He's a blue check. I think he's an actor and writer and shit like that. He goes, I think I figured it out. And by the way, this is apropos of nothing. I think I figured it out. Democrats see The Handmaid's Tale as a horror show, while Republicans see it as a template. So that's and I commented, she's not going to sleep with you. So that's ours. She's not going to sleep with you of the week, and I'll keep everyone updated.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Yeah, you're right. It's definitely more of an online thing, but yeah, isn't it funny seeing, like dudes with. I mean, because this George Hahn guy, he's a blue check. He's got a lot of power, or at least influence. He's got a large audience. We're speaking truth to
power. That's what we do on this podcast. Punching up. Who is this guy? Self-made thesaurus? No. Thousandaire? I don't know who that is. I don't know who he is. Kate and Leopold. George Hahn. Did George Hahn lose his job? Oh. That's one of the Google things.
So now we're just kicking him while he's down, huh?
Yeah, now fuck it, I don't care. Anyway, yes, I'll be updating everyone on ours. She's not going to sleep with you of the week. I also had a Nazi jar of the week, another Twitter thing. A lot of our listeners are from Twitter because that's where Joe and I lurk and hunt. And I'm going to start bringing Nazi/Hitler/Holocaust jar from Twitter to the pod. So it won't be just times we owe money, which Joe, by the way, you owe. Nope, that was me. I owe a couple dollars in the Nazi jar. So remember, tab is running.
Well, we should do an episode, and I know it'll be in a very expensive episode that we'll have to owe like $300-400. But we should do an episode where we talk about what the Nazis did to artists during like 30s and 40s.
Yeah, but that's not okay. Let me.
Well, here's the thing. So the Genesis. I think we mentioned it briefly a while back, but I started a series on Medium comparing what woke people are doing to artists to what the Nazis did to artists.
Okay, so you probably.
But it was
Nazi jar.
Yeah, but it was very specific. It wasn't just like. I mean, like. Here's the thing. It was only going to be like one article. It was only like one article, but there were so many parallels between what the Nazis did versus what.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's a fine line. I think the most recent one was about like the mask mandate or something. Right, like it being. Don't get me wrong, not because right wingers did this too about the mask mandate and compare. But this was the mask mandate being found unconstitutional, and someone tweeting like, "If was it this? Like it feels like the twilight of the Weimar Republic or something like that." Like, which is a basically saying the Nazis are. Yes, who was that?
God, what was it? I know what you're talking about because I remember
he was a doctor. So even though he might not be a blue check, he's a doctor. So truth to power.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, you're right. It was something where it's like this is like the night before. Crystal knocked or something. Like it was sort of like, oh come on, dude. Like it was
he said Weimar Republic exactly.
Yeah, seems like God. What was it though?
Was it the
it
mask
might have been the mask mandate? Yeah.
What else happened? What else happened recently? That was like had blue wave Twitter in a fury.
Florida bill. The Disney being struck down by DeSantis.
I don't think I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it was the mask mandate. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, but I do remember seeing that and be like, "Oh, come on, dude! Like, this isn't the night before the Fourth Reich." Like,
you probably saw it because I was in his. I was tweeting at him. I think I just tweeted with no context at all. You owe $1 for the Nazi joke, which is why I'm annoyed. I can't find it,
dude. I mean, but here's the thing. Even though the left usually throws Nazi comparisons around, the right does it every once in a while, and it's,
sure. Oh, absolutely.
And it's just as stupid. I remember so this is from a couple years ago. This is when during Greta Thunberg's heyday. Thunberg.
How dare you?
Yeah, that chick. Dinesh D'Souza, that right wing guy that you know I'm talking about. He tweeted out like a piece of Nazi propaganda from
I
when
found it,
Nazis
by
were
the
out.
way. But go ahead, keep going.
Okay. He tweeted out like a piece of like Nazi propaganda, and it featured a redheaded girl saying like, you know, sign up for the Nazi party or whatever. And he goes, oh, see, the Democratic Party is using Greta Thunberg just the way the Nazis used redheaded Swiss girls to recruit Nazis. Oh, so basically the Democratic Party is the Nazi party. And it's like, oh, come on, dude. Like, and luckily I remember him getting pretty ratioed, even from other like center right people. Like, oh, come on, dude, this is a stupid comparison.
I don't think Dinesh D'Souza is a very credible person. No. I don't know too much about I don't know too much about him, but he seems very much like a grifter or like very like really problematic right wing. So I found the tweet, but I don't know what the context is. Oh, and by the way, it is a blue check. His name's Jeff. His name's Jeff Jarvis.
Punch away then.
He's not a doctor. It's totally wrong. He's a professor at CUNY. I actually got into that law school.
How's bragging camp coming along?
It's a very social justice oriented school, like super, but they have really low tuition, which is great because it's like we know you're going into public service basically. Yeah. Tough school to get into though. I will pat myself on the back there. Also, I probably got in because of they have affirmative action for Italians. I'm not even fucking kidding.
Really?
I'm not even kidding. They have affirmative. They're the only school in the country that has affirmative action for Italians.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's probably why I got in.
Okay.
You know, Italian privilege. So he says, today on Twitter feels like the last evening in a Berlin nightclub at the twilight of Weimar, Germany. And I don't know what the context. It was April 14th. So something happened at that time. And I said, you owe $1 for the Nazi jar. And that was that.
Yeah, there were definitely some COVID things being lifted around.
Oh, I tweeted at you, by the way. You didn't respond.
That's right. Oh, I didn't? I could have sworn that I...
Oh, no, you did. You did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I DM'd him. He did not respond.
Yeah.
He didn't. I said, I did go, you owe $1 for the Nazi jar. Do you have Venmo? So he did not respond.
Yeah, we should do an episode where we talk about what the Nazis did to artists. Because that's a whole...
Be uplifting.
Yeah, dude, I swear. It was gonna be like a one article thing. But I found so much shit that they did that's so similar to what woke people are doing today that like I almost cried. I remember just like reading and watching documentaries on. I'm like, oh my god, this is going on today. Really? But yeah, it's worth doing an episode on.
All right, let's do it.
But yeah.
Speaking of fascists, I'm rebranding as a fascist. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter too.
Oh yeah, cool. I'm proud of you, man.
Benito Mussolini. So I kind of get the Benito in it, which is Mussolini's name, and Ito is a Japanese surname, and they were fascists, like Judge Ito during the OJ trial.
Oh yeah,
and Mussolini. I mean, that's you know that one.
Yeah, he's that guy. Yeah.
So we're a fascist podcast now.
Yes, we are.
Will that get us in trouble? Can I say that on YouTube?
That we're fascists?
Yeah.
Let's test it. Let's see what happens.
All right. Yeah. I'm always down for that. Try everything twice. All right. Did you want to talk about? Yeah, let's do this article.
Yeah.
Which, remember when I said Hollywood's not, the Oscars is not going to be implementing all of the crit shit?
Yes.
I might have been wrong.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. So this comes out of the Hollywood Reporter. And
real quick, I will just say, like, when you texted me a few days ago, because for all two people who listen to this podcast, we usually don't decide on we love you dearly. We usually don't decide on the topic until like 1 or 2 days before, sometimes even like the day before or the day or the morning of. And I remember earlier this week, it was like a couple days ago, you texted me, hey, so what should we talk about? And then like I was like, oh shit, I don't have anything to talk about. And then I just went to the Hollywood Reporter just because I just figured like, they might have something stupid. I did. That was the first resource that I went to. I was like, oh, let's see what. Oh, here we go, diversity and inclusion. Let's talk about that. So this is
it almost, the beginning of it almost reads like satire.
Yeah,
like it almost reads like something I would write.
Yeah,
needling like this sort of shit. It's like read into our air acknowledgement. It's all right. They do a it's like every grievance, like every aggrieved party gets up and like, and I'm reading this and I think it's sincere, right? But like the Hollywood Reporter is definitely very sympathetic to this. Like they're reporting on this sincerely. But
so this event was hosted by the Hollywood Reporter. It was,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it says right there, the audience at the Hollywood Reporter's inaugural Raising Our Voices, Setting Hollywood's Inclusion Agenda luncheon on Wednesday. So yeah, they're the ones who hosted it.
Is Wilder Valderrama so wealthy that he does this now, or does he need work? It was one of those extreme. Isn't he like insanely wealthy? It's not like he needs work because do you know who I'm talking about?
No, who is this?
Wilmer Valderrama? Oh, he's very he I think became famous playing Fez on that 70s show.
Okay.
And then he was the host of Yo Mama. And he was, you know what? Wilmer Valderrama was kind of like the Pete Davidson of the 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
Like he got so many girls, but no one really understood why.
No.
I think he had a big dick. I'm not just saying that. Like, I actually think that was like a rumor. But I remember he was banging Lindsay Lohan, I think, and like he was very similar in that sense. He was getting all of these celebrities, and he's good looking, but he was batting up, let's say, like Pete Davidson does. Yeah. But I just brought him up because he's part of this DEI stuff, and I'm like, is he either so bored and has so much money that he's just doing this? Maybe he cares, or does he like hit rock bottom and he's doing this kind of shit? But anyway, so and by the way, I love that this takes, of course, in the Beverly Hills Hotel.
Yeah.
like of course, just chef's kiss that this DI shits in the Beverly Hills Hotel.
And you know what's funny is that, like, when I read about the stuff, and it's like, this is happening 25 minutes away from me. Like, there's like part of me that's like, should I just go and crash it? Like, I mean, it's just it's right there.
Just say you're Mexican because you are.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Mexican. Mexicans.
Mexicans. And I don't know. Use that card, but what is it? What is this thing?
So this was a luncheon that was held a couple of days ago, as of this recording, and it was to celebrate, as well as talk about the future of diversity, equity, and inclusion in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry writ large. So a big person who's part of this is Geena Davis. Now, Geena Davis, some time ago, she started the Geena Davis Institute on Gender and Media. I mean, you know, just in case you needed extra proof that her head is up her ass, like that's what she named this institute after herself. So real quick, I have a personal, very quick thing about Geena Davis here. So
fire away.
I believe it's in 2018. I went to the Napa Valley Film Festival up in Northern California in Napa. And so, like, usually, like at that time when I would go to a film festival, I would usually get the VIP thing because you got like access to all the screenings of all the films. You got like access to like the after parties and all the in between parties and all this stuff. And even though it would be like $400 or $500, it was still, for me, it was worth it because I got to see like 2 or 3 movies a day and like get fed, you know, food and wine every day. So like to me, it was like $100 a day for 5-6 days. Like, yeah, that was actually worth it for me. But anyway. And you know, I didn't meet too many like actual celebrities, but I got to meet some pretty cool. Like I met the guy who played Napoleon Dynamite. Is that Jared Leto or something? Anyway, I met a few people who were like, oh, that's cool. Like they've been in big movies. Anyway, so I first found out about the stupid institute of Geena Davis's when she gave a talk at this festival in Napa Valley. And I didn't even see the documentary because there was a documentary about the lack of representation of women and people of color in film and TV and everything. And I went to this talk, like her panel talk afterwards. And I swear, not only are the people in Hollywood really stupid when it comes to data, they must hire some very stupid, lazy people when it comes to analyzing data. Because the data that they presented was like the most superficial univariate data. It was simply, hey, look, last year this many movies came out, and yet only 14% of those movies had, you know, blacks in the lead. Only 28% of those featured women in the lead, or something like that. It's like it was just like very surface level data about, you know, representation and of diversity and blah 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 in movies and TV shows. But they never talked about like why that was. They never talked about like the pay disparity. I mean, in Hollywood, I mean, it's just like, you know, if you're a box office draw, then you can ask for a bigger paycheck. But they were complaining about like, oh, how come Brie Larson gets paid less than Matt Damon? So, well, Matt Damon's been around for fucking 25 years in Hollywood. Like, so no shit, he's gonna get a bigger paycheck. I don't know what to tell you. Brie Larson's only been around for a few years. I don't know what to tell you. Like
the logic doesn't even make sense, because if more like the population of America is split like 50-50, men and women, like most places, and you know, some places don't have that split, like China, but America's roughly 50-50. Women have made huge strides in income, and the whole pay gap is bullshit, but I'm going to go into that another time. That's been debunked time and time again. But women make sometimes more than men.
Yes, in certain industries. Yes,
in certain industries are higher. Wouldn't you say this was 2018? So a few years ago.
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah. Okay. So like they've been getting enrolled in colleges. Like I think most colleges and law schools, and there's some industries that are still majority male. Like I think engineering, but most industries are becoming more female, if not 50-50. Yeah. And so to answer the question, why isn't Brie Larson getting paid more? Well, she's not bringing in the money. Yeah. Like Matt Damon brings in the money. And so why is that? Well, people like him. If Brie Larson brought in that kind of money, well, then she would get paid more.
Yes.
And that's just very simple economics. And there are definitely like women actors who have that kind of draw.
Yeah.
I just think the Matt Damon versus Brie Larson is a totally different. And she actually, Brie Larson got retroactively, I'm going to Robespierre her of the week. Yeah. She got Robespierre of the week because she was saying kind of this kind of shit, right? Like more women, and then there's a big petition to get Captain Marvel changed to like a woman of color, like a queer woman of color, which I would assign that. Like I love that. Good. Like you're gonna run your mouth, not like just be fucking happy with what you're doing. You're making millions of dollars. You're flying around in a cape. Like I don't know. Like the money that went towards this luncheon could have funded scholarships for like kids from Compton and South Central to go to art school or something. Right. Like give them out. Instead, you have a big luncheon in the Beverly Hills Hotel. So you can all sniff your own farts. Like it's just. I want to let's get into. Well, no, that's a good aside because I love. You can give insight on the stuff that I can because you live out there and you're a lot more of an insider than I am. But so do you want to say anything more about that? I didn't know Geena Davis was fucking Thelma from Thelma and Louise.
Yeah. Interesting. I love Geena Davis as an actress. I think she's great. She's done some wonderful movies. But like it's just sort of like, can you hire, like if you're going to start an institute about around the idea of like increasing diversity and inclusion in the film industry, the entertainment industry at large, can you at least hire someone who understands the value of multivariate analyses? Like you're like, hey, this is an interesting data point, but let's break it down. Let's see let's into multiple variables, and let's see where the problem are these actually occurring. Because it's just like this superficial thing of like, hey, men on average are getting paid more than women, therefore sexism. Hey, there are more white people than there are people of color, therefore racism. It's like, that's it. That's all the data that's all the analysis they do.
I'll say it like until I'm fucking broken record here. Like I can't think of a industry that needs this less than Hollywood, than movies. Like, and someone said in here, I don't want to skip too much ahead because I do want to talk about the beginning. It's fucking hysterical. Like satire. But someone like you said, it's just kind of a off the cuff comment. Like, here's my proof, and I want to find it exactly, but they just like try and find any little thing, and it's like, oh, right here. So, let me do it. Hold on. Let me do a quick word search. Yeah. Right here. I don't see one Latino family on network TV right now. Like what? Hold on. One Latino family on network TV. So I went and I looked up the entire lineup for NBC, ABC, and CBS. First of all, most of it's news. Then there's like Jeopardy and like reality shows. Then shows that are like sitcoms and stuff. A lot of them aren't quote unquote families. And when they are, none of them are just like white families anymore that don't have some sort of, they're either kind of split or they're mixed or they're not like families at all. Yeah. I think there was a point where most of the sitcoms were either had like the black sitcoms on UPN, or you had like Friends and Seinfeld and even How I Met Your Mother, and a lot of these shows were just like the white 30-somethings in the city, right? Like that was. But now, like, I went on and they're all mixed and they're all like tons of different representation on there. But of course, she finds like she probably did that and she's like, oh well, there's no like Latino family, there's no like the Rodriguezes or something. Well, because there's not any of those shows anymore. Right. So I just
I know it's the whole topic of representation is bizarre to me because, like, you know, so I've always been a pretty big fan of superhero comic books ever since I was like 10, 11 years old. Yeah. And you know, most of the comics that I read were from like the 80s and 90s, and there was not much, you know, diversity and representation. I never once complained that there were so few Mexican superheroes. Like I was like, oh, Wolverine kicks ass. I love Wolverine. Yeah. When I grow up, I'm gonna become Wolverine. And I'm still kind of.
Are there any Mexican superheroes now?
There's one that I know of. There's a couple, I think. But even though I don't care. It's like I care about
Cucaracha. Is that his name?
That's it's like there's generic, like El Taco.
El Taco. Okay, mine had a little more like originality than that. La Cucaracha could be a superhero. But so anyway, I'm on here now. Like, first of all, a lot of these channels they just play like The Office for hours at a time. Then I do want to come back to what you're saying. I'm just looking now. Then it's like animated shows. Like, what are The Simpsons? They're yellow. Like, what? Family Guy, which, you know, you have Family Guy has a black neighbor, a disabled neighbor, and a rapist neighbor. Like, you have the three topics covered there. That's a joke. Then there's a lot of Law and Order, which isn't like that's what I mean. It's not families. There's 3 different Law and Orders. There's news, like that's it. Like, for instance, today on NBC, their lineup is News, Ellen DeGeneres, Law and Order, Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon. Like that's it. So anyway, I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, and I'm not going to bother looking up CBS. But that's what it was. What? Oh, so yeah, representation. Again, people use this term, and it's like, what is representation? Like, if we're talking representation as in like lining up percentages of the population to what you're seeing on TV, how they're being represented on TV, there would be way less black people on TV.
Yeah, because
there's like 13% of the population.
Like, exactly. Yeah. So this is exactly why I'm so critical of diversity and inclusion quotas in the entertainment industry. Because, like, are you saying that if you want the, you know, like TV and film to represent what the U.S. demographics are you saying you're going to put a cap? Like, okay, we're not going to include more than 13% of black people on film crews and in the cast. It's like, do you want to put a cap on that? Because I don't give a shit if it's like 15 or 20% or 50% black. I don't care, as long as the show is good, as long as the movie's good. I don't care. But that's the thing where it's like, do you really want to like get down and like micromanage the percentages of the skin colors working on every single film and TV show?
No, I actually want to do it. Like, I think it's going to hurt. Yeah, I think it's going to hurt those same people. One, and as we just talked to Kimmy Katiti about this, like, I think way more people than this sort of, you know, liberal bullshit wants you to believe. Like, no, they just want to be appreciated for their work.
Yes.
Whether they're holding the boom mic or they're the star of the movie, like, they just want to be appreciated for their work, right? And I mean, there was a time where like they really would not put black actors or Latino actors, and there were some, you know, Sidney Poitier and Desi Arnaz, and you know, there were these actors who broke through. They were few and far between. And they kind of laid the groundwork. And then, you know, but now, is there a better time? And I don't mean like post-Great Awakening. I mean like before that. Like, was there a better time then to be an actor of color or to be a woman or to be like, it was everywhere. Yeah. And now it just feels so forced and unnecessary out of like all the industries. Right. It makes no sense to me. And I think there's a reason. I mean, I don't know if this is exact, but there's a backlash against Disney. There's going to be a backlash. Netflix plummeted their stock, and I think Hulu, I've said, which I will watch Hulu for like Always Sunny, but shows I'm already watching, right? I'm not watching shows I've already seen. I should mean Modern Family, Always Sunny, How I Met Your Mother. I'm not going there to find new shows because it's all just crit bullshit. So much of it, and you see that in the commercials, and it's just like, God, like it's not going to work. Like it's people are just going to watch The Office for the 400th time. So
that's the thing. It's I mean, you can always tell when the cast of a film or show is forced, when it's just sort of like, oh, come on, like you pick that person, like they're not because they're talented, but because like you have a quota to meet. And it's like, oh, come on, like this is so silly. And it's also like in the marketing where it's like, you know, there was something I was seeing on, I think it was on Twitter or YouTube, but it was just about like, oh, like finally we've got more female creators on Hulu or something. It's like, who gives a shit? Like, are these funny shows? Are they interesting? Do they have a cool premise? Like,
well, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same. They just want the most superficial diversity. If those female new YouTubers start saying heterodox shit, start questioning, you know, the origins of COVID or mask mandates, or, you know, DEI programs. Well, no, we don't want that, right? That would be diversity of thought. They don't want diversity of thought. They want diversity of skin color and genitalia. That's all they want. Can we talk about because I'm reading it here. It's so, I don't fucking get, I'm sorry, I don't get the whole land acknowledgement thing.
Read the quote. It's pretty funny.
So it starts off basically, the editorial director, Nikisa Mumby Moody, kicked off the luncheon held at the Mayborn Beverly Hills Hotel, you know, the hotel of the people, alongside activist and producer Bird Running Water. I mean, I think these names are great. I love
they're cool names, actually.
Cool. And Illuminative President, and that one's not a great, that's the name of an organization, not Illuminative, like President and CEO Crystal Echohawk. After welcoming the room, Running Water paid respects to the Tongva people, who are the ancestral custodians of the land that we are gathered on today, and acknowledged the Chumash and Tataviam tribes, who are also the traditional keepers of the land, now on the coast and in the valley, respectively. Lands where many of our entertainment community live and work. Echo Hawk added that LA County alone has the highest population of Native peoples in the United States. I would like to see them take genetics tests, because I don't believe that. I think a lot of them are Elizabeth Warrens, who just like play with turquoise and say that they are Native. I think places like Oklahoma and North Dakota have much higher populations, but I digress.
But before you finish that sentence, I thought you were going to say that I think a lot of those people are just Elizabeth Warren. Like, no, there's him, there's her. Like 90% of like Native DNA isn't Elizabeth Warren's, 23.
I hope that the Geena Davis Institute on Gender I hope a trans woman starts running it instead of Geena Davis, because that would be real diversity. That's what I would like to see.
There's got to be 37 boxes that she's got to check off before.
Someone was saying, I don't know if there's a joke or not. Someone was saying they were at a meeting. I think it was in Seattle. I don't know. But it was like they did a land acknowledgement, and someone stood up and said, like, well, those natives killed my ancestral natives who were on the land first. Like, people don't realize, like, I think there's this idea that the natives were just like peaceful and just fucking and chilling and eating berries and stuff. Like, no, they had armies and weapons and like really brutally killed each other before any European stepped foot on this soil. I know that I'm going to read the book. I know Joe Rogan's talked about it, The Empire of the Summer Moon, which is the fuck me, not Cherokee. They were in Texas basically, and like they did shit that was like medieval, like like Middle Ages torture to
every civilization did. Like the idea that like colonizing and slavery was just a white European thing. So no, like, when you look at what the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Egyptians and even Africans did to each other, it's like no, they did horrible shit to each other.
And it wasn't just. It's not like I don't mean to be like, oh, well, I mean, the Europeans were slaves also. The Ottomans had a huge slave trade in the Mediterranean that would enslave French and Italians and Spanish people. And they also enslaved, the Ottomans also enslaved tons of Black Africans up and down, you know, or up and down the Swahili coast, or that, excuse me, maybe not the Ottomans there. That would be the Omani Arabs did that. The Ottomans were more the Mediterranean. Everyone was enslaving everyone and killing everyone and torturing everyone. It was horrible. Humanity is terrible. That's what I try to say. Humanity is awful. We destroy the planet. We rape and kill each other. There's really, like, the only reason that we're here is because no one's above us. Like once, when Jesus comes back or the aliens come, whichever happens first, we're all fucked. Like that's you know, that's just the reality, because we are terrible to each other and to our planet. But anyway, so land acknowledgements. That happened at the Beverly Hills Hotel, which I want to be like, then give them the hotel, give them the land, just move out of your Malibu house and let the Tongva people move there. I would be okay with that. I'm okay with relocating white liberals. I'm fine with that. Not to my neighborhood, but I'm fine with relocating them to other places. Just like Sean Penn, who I actually had a lot of respect for with a lot of things, especially like the Haiti. He's one of those Hollywood celebrities who does seem to put his money where his mouth is a lot more than most. Like he's super, but I think he does a lot more than most. Like he actually went to Haiti and was there for a while helping out after the earthquake. He's talking about going to Ukraine. And I tweeted, I'm for celebrities going to war zones. I'm okay with that. I support it. Just like I support sending not $10 million of American taxpayer money to gender studies in Pakistan, but I'm all for sending gender studies professors to Pakistan. I would love to see one of these liberal arts professors teach gender studies in Karachi. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that class. When you have the ISIS-K bombing the school. I don't want that to happen, by the way. I'm just kidding. I do want the professors to go there, but I don't want anyone.
No, that's the thing where it's like, even if I disagree with somebody, I can at least respect them for being consistent. Where it's like, okay, like if you genuinely, like, so for example, right down the street there was this shared house, and for a while they had this big banner hanging off the front of it saying, you know, we're on stolen land.
Didn't you live in that house?
No. This is a different house. There was a shared house, and they had a banner that said,
"Then give it back."
Okay, then give it back to them.
All right, fucking give it back then.
If they actually did, I'd be like, okay, like I don't think
I would respect that so
I'd be
much.
like, all right, that's fine. You guys.
I loved it during the Great Awakening. There were people would march through the streets of Seattle, like very urban upscale neighborhoods, saying like these are all people who had like Black Lives Matter shit and intersectional flags and all that. And they're saying like you're in you know, historically Black neighborhoods, and I would be fine with those people leaving and letting Black people move in. Dude, but they're not gonna fucking do that. They'll wave the banner, but they're not gonna let them move back in. I would be fine with that. Other celebrities like Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, I always feel like they kind of put their money a little more with their mouth was. Like they actually adopted all these children, and they did buy they helped build homes in New Orleans and stuff like that. I think some of those homes have kind of gone to shit. I don't quote me on that exactly, but they tried. It wasn't just that at an Oscar speech.
I remember this one time a few years back, Brad Pitt was shooting a movie, and somebody saw him, like some random person on the street saw him, because they were filming like in downtown LA or New York or something, and they saw him on the set, like in between takes, and somebody went up to him saying, "Hey, I'm part of this organization. Could you donate?" And he's like, "All right, sure." And he apparently had like $500 cash on him, and he donated to the charity. I'm like, "Oh, okay, you know, all right, that's cool." Like he just donated. But I remember there were people who were bothered, like, well, that's all he has, only $500. It's like you put him on the spot, like, and he just gave you $500 to your charity. Like, fine, that's great.
People at the charity were saying that.
No, there were people commenting on the article saying, "Oh, that's all he gave was $500." It's like you're bothering during business hours, and that's all. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, he didn't even. I'm extremely hesitant to donate to charities that are like not. Let me walk that back a second, because that sounds really horrible. Like that are just like a national or international. Like, I mean, fucking look at Black Lives Matter. 2/3 of the money, $60 million is unaccounted for, and it's clearly been laundered and sent, you know, not used for Black Lives Matter. or it has been used for Black Lives Matter, but a few
for
of
like
them,
2 or 3 members. Like.
Yes, but I give to I wanted I want to see my money basically go towards like more local. Like for instance, I give to the Covenant House here in Atlantic City. Like Covenant House is a big organization,
right?
But I make sure it like goes to that one right in Atlantic City because it's more local, and I know that my money's going to go farther there than just like the big thing, because it's just going to go to in someone's pocket administrative costs or awareness. I think I personally think, not to get too much into this, I think the best thing to do if you want to help people, like pay their rent. Like pay their bill or something. Like you know, if someone's having a hard time, like that's helping people. Like I don't know. It's so easy now. So I think especially on Facebook, like people will be honest, and if you're not, like, that's why I always like poor people on the street, homeless people. A lot of it is mental illness, and a lot of it is drug addiction. Right, the vast majority. Still, I'll give money sometimes, and once that money's out of my hand, it's like, all right. You want to go, like, fine. Like, I don't know. I am more hesitant now to do that. But there was a time where someone be like, oh, they're just going to go buy drugs. I'm like, well, they have agent. Like, I gave them money. If they want to, then that's what they want to do with it. Fine. Yeah. I did have once. I was working at a liquor store when I went to go get lunch. And a guy came up to me and was like, hey, can I have money for food or whatever? I was like, fine. Yeah, here's, a couple bucks. I go back. He comes in and buys a tall boy a Budweiser. And I'm sitting there like, dude, like what the fuck? Like I thought you said you're gonna buy food. But I don't know. Still got it. I was like, all right, you got me.
Stupid Ben, don't ever give.
Don't give.
Not to your mother, not to your father, not to
definitely not to the government.
No, exactly. Defund the IRS.
Now you're talking about language.
Speaking of language, this is related to the whole diversity and inclusion thing. So, you and I have talked a lot about our frustrations with what's happening to language, of like how definitions of words are being forced to change at gunpoint. Not like they're evolving naturally. It's like they're being, it's like, no, there's a political agenda that we have here, and you got to change. So
or you're a bigot or something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So there's this quote that I read. I might have read this before, but this is a quote from Leo Tolstoy's 1898 book, What is Art? And he taught, and when I read this, like I highlighted the hell out of it because it resonated so much with, and this is from 1898. So here's the quote. As happens with everything, the more vague and confused the concept conveyed by a word, the greater is the aplomb and assurance with which people use the word, pretending that what is understood by this word is so simple and clear that it is not even worth talking about. And like that demonstrates so much what is going on with these terms like diversity, inclusion, and equity. Like this is exactly what I encountered when I was working in the Silicon Valley startup world, where it's like, hey, we need to be more diverse. And I go, okay, why do we need to be more diverse? So that way we can be more inclusive. Well, why do we need to be more inclusive? So that way we'll have more representation. Why do we need more representation? So that way we can be diverse. And it's like this weird, like
circular logic. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't question these things because like, well, you know what diversity means. You know what inclusion means. Why even ask that question?
If you want real diversity, okay, fine. At the startup, I'm assuming you needed at minimum a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, take that away. You want to get diverse? Hire people who come from single parent households only. Hire people who come from certain zip codes. Like you still want the Stanford grad. You just want the Stanford grad who is a second, generation immigrant, even if those immigrants were very wealthy from Nigeria, right? So you still, it's just the most superficial diversity because they still went to the same schools where they're taught the same shit, where they're indoctrinated really into the same kind of crit thinking that you can't diverge from, or else you get called XYZ. If you're white, you get called a racist. If you're black, you get called Uncle Tom or Coon or whatever those are. We were going over those with Kimmy. So that, and I have heard like, leftists will make this argument. Like I've heard this on Jacobin, and like, okay, because a lot of leftists, like Kimmy pointed out, are against this stuff too. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, start hiring from only poor people who have people run. If you Democratic Party have people run who were nerd like India Walton, I believe her name was, who ran for mayor of Buffalo. Like she was actually homeless at one point.
Yeah.
She was a nurse. She was a single mom. All these things. But that's not what they want at all, right? They just want the Ivy League degree or Ivy League equivalent in other parts of the country. But you know, who has a different skin color than usual, or different genitals, or changes genitals, or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, and it's completely superficial. Which you know, getting back to the Hollywood reporter, stupid luncheon thing.
It's a racket. Like, can we just call it what it is? DEI is a racket.
It is. It absolutely is.
What they get paid to basically just make up things and say, well, this is better because it's better, without any sort of logic or statistics or anything like that. It's, if you want to say, well, we just want to hire for different perspectives, like, again, that's not it, because it's about the same sort of thought. What if you're a non-white male who disagrees with this? Are you still going to hire them?
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not. You're going to find the other, let's say they were a Puerto Rican woman, right? Like, okay, trans Puerto Rican woman. Yeah, trans Puerto Rican conservative woman. I'm sure they exist. Yeah. Puerto Rico is actually a lot more conservative than people realize too.
Yes.
I lost my train of thought. Oh, and then she comes out and she's like very anti a lot of this stuff, a lot of this DEI stuff. Like, you're not.
She voted for Trump. It's like, what are you gonna do then?
She comes in with a MAGA hat. You're hiring her. She checks all those boxes.
Right.
No, you're not, because that's not the diversity you want.
Right. Exactly.
And these DEI coordinators get paid a shit ton of money, and we wonder why. You know, if costs weren't enough at universities, now they're hiring. Like, it's not just one person. I think that's the thing. Like, it's not like every school just
it's a whole department. It's a whole fucking building
with administrative costs, or why school's so expensive to begin with.
Yeah,
it's because the administrations have gotten so bloated. They're not paying the professors anymore. They're not giving any more. The biggest fucking, oh my God, the biggest fuck you to the students I ever saw with this, I thought was a really, this was like 2016, 2017. And I was actually for this. Now, bear with me. I'm generally against reparations. I think that they cause a lot of problems, and they don't really make sense. But this was one of the examples where I actually am for reparations. It was Georgetown, which elite university, and which was historically built by slaves. Like, slaves helped literally build the university. It's one of the oldest universities in the country. It's a Jesuit university. I have a lot of respect for the Jesuits. Generally, they kind of got a lot of woke shit too during the Great Awakening. I didn't like. But they were going to say, okay, we're not just going to give reparations to Black people, right? That doesn't make any sense. Black people come in all different generations. But we've located the families of the slaves who built this university. Like, their descendants, and a lot of them happen to live in Louisiana at this time, like a town in Louisiana, right? So, like, we've located them. We're going to give them reparations. I'm fine with that. This is an extremely expensive university with a huge endowment. You know, this is where like Antonin Scalia went, and like many great thinkers and very wealthy people, huge endowment. I'm like, I'm cool with that. Give those people who started not at a level playing field. They were, you know, their families started in the worst possible position you could. They're living in a very poor state. And if they're wealthy now, you know, that's fine too. I think in this situation, give them reparations. You know how they paid for those reparations?
How? They
raised the tuition.
Oh, jeez.
They raised the tuition on a symbolic, like whatever the number was, I think, of the amount of slaves it was. They so you're just making the students pay for it.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not saying they hid it either. It's not like they hid it and someone uncovered this. Like, this was voted on, and they did a symbolic percentage of raising tuition to pay, instead of getting it from I could probably look up Georgetown's endowment. Instead of getting it from that, we're getting it from like a wealthy donor. So that's, to me, it's just like it's the epitome of this shit. It's like, yeah, we're gonna say and do the right stuff, but you're paying for it.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna what were you gonna say? Because I'm gonna look up Georgetown's endowment right now.
Oh, I was gonna talk about.
I mean, it's the Catholic Church, so they have money. But okay, guess their endowment. Sorry, guess their endowment right now.
22 million.
Not even fucking close. Like, not even close. You're a digit off. You're a whole digit off.
Okay, 120 million.
No, dude. Like, no, oh, yeah, not even close. $2.59 billion.
Jesus Christ,
This
man.
is a $2.59 billion university.
They couldn't afford to like spend any of that on a handful of families?
They couldn't. No, they could not, Joe. That's what drives me fucking crazy.
Because it's all going to the new diversity building.
Right. They're going to bring those families back and they're going to build it.
It's for the diversity inclusion statue. Like that's where all that money's going towards.
I mean, if this kind of shit told you enough, they have a Qatar campus, which is like Qatar is basically a state sponsor of terrorism. But yeah, hey, whatever. I just wanted to just find the. This is gonna make me mad, but what the tuition is at Georgetown?
$2 kajillion.
2.59 billion. And I don't think they pay property taxes.
Yeah.
One, because they're a university, and two, because they're a Catholic school. I don't know which one takes precedent there. But anyway, all right. Anything else about the Hollywood Reporter?
Yeah.
Anything else that's stupid?
Yeah, everything about that thing is stupid. So one thing I wanted to bring up. So Geena Davis, this is from the article.
Actually.
Geena Davis. Wow, like I'm so glad that she stepped up to become a prophet, even when fate.
What do you mean?
So here's what it says in the article. I'll read it. Davis, the founder of the Geena Davis Institute on Gender and Media, followed up the introduction with her own remarks, explaining how she began her fight for on-screen female representation after watching children's shows when her daughter was young and was stunned to see the imbalance of male versus female characters. And here's a quote from her. I was studying children's and animated content that first led me to ask, why are we doing this? Why are we, from the very beginning, showing that boys are more important than girls? I didn't intend to be a visionary, but I couldn't find anyone else in the industry who saw what I was doing or who saw what I was seeing. I didn't intend to be a visionary, but...
Oh, you fucking bitch. You goddamn bitch. It's honestly like the South Park episode with the smug and they're all farting in glasses and smelling it, and it's like is that the same episode? Might not be the same episode, but and the George Clooney acceptance speech. I think it is that. Oh, you don't remember that one? Basically, it's how smug these like liberals are, and the George Clooney acceptance speech is going to collide with some other. It's supposed to be smog, but smug, and I think it's all these like white liberals just like farting into glasses and smelling them and saying really like douchey liberal things. It's an old episode. I don't really remember the specifics, but yeah.
I didn't intend to be a visionary, but I became one.
It's Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Geena Davis.
Geena Davis, and then Buddha. Yeah, I know. Seriously, man. It's because I took a gander at some of the studies produced by her institute, and yeah, I mean, there's just
too much dick. Those are the studies. There's too much dick in here.
Somebody just looked at a handful of movies and then they just got out their calculator and were like, okay, yeah, here's the percentage of this skin color in this movie. All right, whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay.
It almost starts to get like very creepy and like racist. Like, what's the gradient on this one?
Right.
Passing. It's like it used to be, oh, this is a quote unquote black person, passing as white, because there were obviously many obvious benefits to being white then. Now it's like the opposite. It's it's hey, what's your 23andMe? You said you're 12% Cherokee. Get it out here. I'm serious when I think that's going to happen.
Charlie Sheen is going to change his name back to Estevez.
Yeah. Right. That's his. Wait, what's his birth name? Is it
Estevez? Yeah, because
Sheen?
Wasn't his brother's Emilio
brother's
Estevez,
Emilio Estevez,
and the dad's Charlie Sheen. Yeah,
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was Martin Sheen.
Right.
Yeah,
so why is Emilio Estevez?
He just kept his name. He kept his Spanish name.
Wait, Martin Sheen's real name's not Sheen?
No.
Oh, okay. What kind of Spanish are they?
I'm not sure, actually.
Well, they're white Hispanic. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
not
white supremacists.
Yeah.
Yeah. They changed their name. They changed everything. Martin Sheen's real name
changed everything.
This is
so just lizards wearing skin suits. I turned the frogs gay.
Martin Sheen's original name is Ramon Antonio Gerardo Estevez.
Ooh, that's so spicy. I love it.
No, it's Martin Sheen.
Say it again. Can you say it again?
Ramon Antonio Gerardo Estevez.
Estevez. Are they Spain Spanish?
Yeah, Spain Spanish. Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah, so you guys say Ramon Estevez. They do the th at the end.
Yeah, Spanish.
Yeah, that's the Spanish I speak because white supremacy.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fascist.
But yeah, man. So this is the state of Hollywood. This just took place a couple days ago, or actually, technically yesterday, I think. Because today's Thursday. This took place on Wednesday. So this is what's going on in Hollywood, and it's just so funny that they're all patting each other on the back, saying, "Yeah, I'm glad that we got more skin colors in your TV show.
Yeah.
You got even more skin colors in your
movie." I can already see the South Park episode, just a van pulling up, rounding them up. We need more skin colors in here.
Yeah,
it's very creepy. I don't really get it. But I'm
there's nothing about we need.
Oh, I do want to hold on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. You finish because I want to say one more thing though.
Yeah. Nobody's talking about creativity or originality or anything like that. It's just it's all. Inherently, this is anti-art. It's the identity is more important than the ideas.
That's been the case, and it's. I think we gave an example on our first episode with that white poet. I think it was Canadian. He might have Canadian American, who just changed his name to something overtly Chinese, and then immediately started getting accepted, way more. And he didn't change any of the words to his work. And it's just you can't even fucking hide it. We know what you're doing.
Right.
Okay, so about this, a good thing about this, maybe you disagree with this part, but I actually think the disability aspect to it is more important.
Okay.
One, a disability is literally a fucking disability, right? It's tangible, or not. It could be a mental disability too, but it's anyone can deal with that, right? Mm-hmm. White people, trans people, white straight people, trans people, black people, immigrants, people, whatever it is. Can be deaf or have be in a wheelchair or something like that, and or can have something later in life. And I think those stories are much stronger and have been neglected. I think a great example is The Sound of Metal, amazing movie from 2020. Riz Ahmed, he's a heavy metal drummer. And he starts to lose his hearing. And if you can't hear, you can't keep the tempo and you can't do your job. And he basically becomes deaf, or very close to it. And he goes to a home for deaf people. And that was a really beautiful story. It was something different. And then Coda, of course, is what really this starts with. So I don't want to just be negative about this because Coda, I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it. But to me, those stories are more uniting. And it does show that is something that people have to deal with. And it's let's use, racism. Okay, there's definitely racism, but we just assume that every person of a certain color or non-white has dealt with racism. We glob them all together. And a lot of people are no, I haven't dealt with that. Or these people dealt with it very severely. And there's different aspects. And but people with disabilities, that's what they actually have to deal with on day to day.
Right.
Sometimes you can hide it or not, but I think that there's a lot more space there. That's the sort of diversity that I would like to see more of.
Right.
So I think Peanut Butter Falcon was another movie with. Did you see that one?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's Shia LaBeouf and an actor who was he has Downs, I believe. Yeah, Downs. And it was a really cool movie. It was in Outer Banks, North Carolina, part of the country that you don't see a lot of movies take place in. And it was this friendship, and it was really beautiful and it was really nice. And it wasn't a well, what do we say now? Neuro non-divergent or something. Let's say I was going to say non-disabled. Person playing that, which I know that can be kind of touchy, like Leo DiCaprio playing an autistic boy in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which he's incredible at it. I don't know if that would fly anymore. I don't know if it should fly anymore. I don't think they should censor that movie at all. Very good movie. But I think those stories, that's the diversity I think we need to see more of. Not just, I think that they offer something new and something different. And that like someone has to deal with something, and having actors who, like the actor who won Coda, did he win? What did he win? Did he win best actor?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. I can't remember. And I did a whole fucking list on this. I don't know. I just think that's where there would be a room for more diversity, and that should be the focus.
Yeah, I'm more lenient when it comes to that type of when it comes to those types of calls for diversity, because I think that there is more grounds for interesting storytelling there, rather than so this reminds me a little bit, and again, we might have brought this up at some point in previous episodes, but a while back, the Huffington Post briefly had this section. I think it was like the diversity section, and like most of the stories were exactly the same, because they were just simply like, I'm an Asian woman, and this is how difficult it is to be an Asian woman in America today. And I'm a black trans man, this is how difficult it is. But it was like, even though like the skin color and the identity and even though those things were different, all the stories were exactly the same. It's like, okay, fine, sure, whatever. And I'm not saying that it's not difficult to be black or trans or Asian or whatever. Like, but like when it comes to like, you know, certain handicaps, where it's like, okay, yeah, that's something that transcends skin color and gender and sexuality. That's like something that you have to deal with, regardless of what your status is, where your class is, or whatever you are, wherever you are in the country, or the world even. That's something that you do have to deal with. And I think that there is more grounds for interesting storytelling there. And I think that there's definitely if this luncheon was more about that, I probably would not be as critical about it.
Yeah, and it is partly about it, and part of this is like they say at the end here, you know, talking about how difficult maybe it is to hire deaf or disabled talent. So you just hire.
And I'm all for setting up more resources to include more.
That's where
people into the industry.
That's where these resources should be going, in my opinion. Like, it's already so tough to have any, and even like a minor, what would be considered. I mean, I don't mean that like would be considered minor on the grand scale. Like life is fucking tough already. You know, like to have any sort of disability like that just makes it tougher. And you didn't do anything. Like you were just born or just developed, or maybe you did do something. Maybe you made some bad decisions and you have it. And that's a story. Like that's a story that I remember. This movie called The Sea Inside. It's a Spanish movie with Javier Bardem. He becomes a quadriplegic, which isn't that's not disability. I know, but it's like he did something. So he dove into, broke his neck or whatever, dove into water. And this is more about a euthanasia movie. But like that sort of stuff, that's an extreme. So, I kind of went off there. But like the disability, that to me is like, that's where all of these resources should be going. One, just to like make these people's lives better. Like whether it's acting classes, music classes, sport, like be more inclusive in that sense. Not just like I'm 24%, Sioux or Lenape or something. Okay. Like,
and here's the thing. I wouldn't be so like I'll give the woke their due here.
Don't do it, Joe.
I know. Well, I'll like once in a while they'll make part of a good argument. So they'll often bring up how why so many movies and TV shows feature characters that are white, and how the industry tends to think of white as being the default. I think at the very least there's some truth there, because that's historically been true. Like, fine, okay, there's been a lot of white representation in the entertainment industry, up until the last couple of decades or so. So fine. I can see why a screenwriter who's just used to watching a lot of mainstream movies going like, oh yeah, and this character, yeah, sure, he's white, whatever, blah blah blah. Not think twice, not even in a racist way, just not think about considering other identities. I remember this one time I was part of a writing group a while back, and I had written so it was this group where everybody would share, on Saturdays we'd get together at a coffee shop and we'd share part of a screenplay or a short story or a novel or a poem that we were working on. And so I had written this short horror screenplay about a piano teacher who was also a serial killer. And I wrote it it was basically one scene, and the piano instructor was a male and he was torturing a female. But as I'm going through, I'm like, what if I switch the genders? This is not based on a feminist thing. This is simply like, well, what if I just switch? Because I'm so used to the idea of a woman being tied to a chair and tortured. Like I've seen that so many fucking times. It was more about cliches than anything.
Yeah, every time I watch porn. What?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. but I know. But I mean, like there's so many torture movies out there where it's like it's just a woman being tortured and she's tied up. So I switched it. Like, what if she's what if the serial killer / piano instructor was a female and the student was a male? And then that actually, I was like, oh, that's more interesting. So I actually changed the characterization and the dialogue, and to me, it actually came out better because, like, I know this is controversial. Men and women on average are different. So I actually wrote,
I quit. I cannot co-host. I cannot co-host a podcast with someone with these problematic and violent views.
But like I switched the genders, and I think it ended up actually coming out more interesting. It was like, ooh, like a female serial killer who's also a classical pianist. Like, this is interesting. Like, that's more.
It's really funny that you say that. No. Sorry, it's funny that you say that because I was thinking recently too, and a question for what you just said, and you just did that because you thought the art would be better, right? Yeah, you're just like,
I'm just playing with ideas.
Yeah, I used to. I know you don't really use Instagram, but I post my books that I read. Like, whatever book I'm reading, I post it, and then when I finish, I post the next book, right? And before the Great Awakening shit, all this stuff, I went out of my way to make sure that I read women authors, like, because I noticed that no one criticized me, no one said anything, but I just noticed I read a lot of men, because historically men were the only ones who wrote books. Until relatively recently, and even still, not a lot of women got in the mainstream. Now, I'll tell you, it's almost all women authors and readers. But and that's fine, because if the market, and I know this because I have an email list. I don't mean to go off here, but I have an email list. Like, I want to say it's sometimes I feel like 85 to 95% of my email list is women. And you can't always tell because they're names, but Alice is probably not a guy. Like something like Shannon or Jamie, like they could go both ways. You don't know. But if women are the ones who are reading, then they probably want to read more women authors. Not always, but that's fine. That goes that way too, right? Right. So, but I would go out of my way to read more women authors and like authors from different countries and different backgrounds, stuff like that. And I just did that naturally. Right. Because I was like, yeah, I am kind of reading a lot of white guys. Let me read some, but now it almost feels like, because this is so in your face, I don't do that anymore. I just read exactly what I want to read. Exactly. And sometimes that is a novel by a Black American. Sometimes it is by a white Japanese woman, a Japanese woman. Sometimes by a white guy who died 200 years ago. Right. But like, I don't do that anymore because it's so force-fed. It's so in your face. It's like, exactly. Well, no, I'm just going to read exactly what I want now.
Right. Exactly.
So it's totally backfired and it's for me.
I know. You're absolutely right. And the reason why I brought up my own kind of personal, experience of gender swapping something, is like, there are ways, I think, to kind of encourage diversity and representation in a way that's not in your face. And if you don't like watch a movie with a female in it, then you're a bigot, blah, blah, blah. It's like so like, to me, like switching the genders actually produced a better product in the end. And so the reason, and another reason why I brought this up is because this is something that Geena Davis brought up in that panel talk that I watched a few years ago. She was watching, I can't remember what cartoon it was that she was talking about. She was watching some cartoon, and or maybe it was a Disney movie or something. It was an animated thing, and in the background it was mostly white men or something like that. And then so she met one of the people who worked on that project, and she goes, "Hey, why not include more women? Why not include more people of color?" And then like sometime like a year or so later, they were working on another project, and there was another crowd scene, and they included more diversity. And then he goes up to her and goes, "Oh, I never even it just never entered my thinking to include more skin colors, more genders, blah blah blah." And she goes, "Yeah, see, that's all you need to do." Here's the thing, like it's one way to kind of ask somebody, "Hey, your story is interesting as it is, but what would happen if would it change the dynamics if you were to switch the race or the gender or the sexuality?" Because you're talking about more. That's fine. That's because you're coming at it from a creative standpoint.
Yeah.
But like what she's doing now, as well as what Hollywood is doing now, is like, this is a good movie, but can you add more skin colors? Not because it'll make the movie better, but simply because we just need more skin colors.
Yeah.
That's what we're against here. Like that's what we're really criticizing.
Yeah. That reminds me. So I'm bringing up. Okay. So in this really fucking, I remember. So this was after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting in Parkland, I guess is what more is called. Yeah. Parkland shooting in Florida, right? And this, I get like really. There's this cartoon. Someone drew a cartoon of there was a teacher who was a hero. Like he saved a bunch of kids by blocking a door and taking a bunch of bullets, right? Like buying time, something like that. And there's a cartoon that was really, really poignant to me. It was a bunch of people, as far as the eye can see in this cartoon I'm looking at now. There's a girl pulling him by the hand, saying, "Come on, Mr. Feist. So many of us want to meet you. Like so many of us have been killed by gun violence." Right? I'm getting choked up just saying this.
Yeah.
And I remember someone, and this got a lot of attention on Twitter. Because it's beautiful. Like I think it's a really beautiful, poignant drawing, and I can send it to you. And I remember someone commenting like, basically, where's the diversity in the drawing? And it's like, first of all, it's not colored in at all,
right? So
it's not like they have races. A lot of it's kind of like blurry, like you can't tell exactly, But it's like that's what you're gonna comment on this picture of a bunch of children who just died,
right?
Like where, and the artist, you could tell, went into kind of like it's not like it was just some comment that ignored and got buried. Like it got a lot of sway, and the artist responded to it, in the same kind of way. Like you can imagine what the response would be. Very covering my ass sort of response. And I remember this was like 5 years ago or something. I still remember this. Like I'm not looking at this. I'm looking at the photo.
Yeah.
I was just thinking to myself, like, and I was pretty fucking progressive at this time.
Yeah.
And even then I remember thinking like, that's what you have to say?
Right.
Like you can't hold it in for one fucking thing. Like a photograph of a bunch of murdered children, or not photograph, excuse me, cartoon portraying like the spirits of murdered children and adults during these school shootings, which is a fucking problem in this country.
Yeah.
And I think it's like this shit's it's a sickness, like this DEI crap, and it just like infects any sort of thought where you look at a drawing of dead people, spirits, and you say, well, where are all the Native Americans?
Right, exactly.
Like at a school that I think was very white. I think this was a very white school, and Latino school. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of there's that Marvel Netflix show, Luke Cage, which takes place and was shot in around Harlem, New York. And I remember, which is predominantly black, and which is in keeping with the comics, like that. It's comic accurate. And I remember when the show came out, there were complaints about the lack of diversity on the show. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, there's a show.
Interesting, because I always wonder when you see diversity, usually they mean like too many white people, right? But what about when something does take place in almost entirely one race neighborhood or city, like Baltimore or Harlem, New York, where I'm in Harlem a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
And there is actually, Harlem has had sort of a influx of non-Black people.
Yeah.
And like I think like Neil Patrick Harris lives there, and like because it's still a relatively affordable neighborhood in New York, in Manhattan at least. And wait, so sorry, what were they saying? They're saying there's not enough diversity.
Yeah, in a show
too Black.
That takes place. Yeah, in a show that but like it made sense though. I mean, because like it does. It took place in a neighborhood that's predominantly Black, and it's also comic accurate. It's like you cannot. There's no way to fault that. Like it's just like. Like you would have to be a bigot to be like, oh, there's not enough skin color. Was it white people complaining? It was there weren't. I'm very confused because you don't hear this a lot. Yeah, I know. I can't remember. This is so this is from the first season, which came out in like I don't know 2017, 2016 maybe. This is a while back.
Trans Filipino, Jews,
Muslim immigrants, like.
Yeah, I mean Harlem. I think it's more diverse now than it was like 20 years ago.
Sure,
but it's still like I don't know. I would think it's at least 80% Black, and Harlem's pretty big. Like there are different sections of it. There's also there's a Spanish Harlem too that used to be Italian Harlem, and it changed because people move in, people move out. That's how it happens. But it's
weird that you can have a show that's like, oh, cool, like finally, like Black superhero. In a Black neighborhood. All right, cool. Finally, more diversity. No, it's not diverse enough.
They just want every single piece of media to be like a college brochure. Yeah, like you have a white girl who's benefited more from affirmative action than Black people. That's inside. A Black man, a Chinese trans student in a wheelchair with a professor with patches, a gray hair professor with patches. Like they just want every single thing. I want my newscast to look like this. I want my show to look like this. I was like, that's inaccurate. Like if the show takes place in Harlem, that's 85% Black. The representation would be 85% Black, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're in Spanish Harlem and it's much more Latino. I don't know. I think they're Puerto Ricans. I'm not positive on that. But yeah, so it defies logic. Like it's not about being accurate. Defies accuracy and logic. It's not about that.
Right.
It's completely about feelings and just superficial diversity.
Exactly. Yeah.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah. This is good.
This was good. That was fast. That was fast. Hour and 20.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right.
So Hollywood sucks. And well, hey, so I'm gonna be doing something interesting. So this Saturday night, I'm going to some kind of a weird performance art comedy show thing.
All right.
The comedian's name is Tyler Nacho. He does not look Latino. So, but it's like a weird. But here's the thing. It's like a weird like puppet show. / like dance party / like I think they do like palm readings or something.
You fucking West Coast urban people can't have normal fun like the rest of us.
You know what's funny, man? Is that like
I get drunk with my cats on the weekend. That's what this country needs more of.
You know what's funny is that like I have so much disdain and hatred for this type of artsy, up your own asshole sort of thing. But there's a weird, like, I find that disdain goes away if you treat these people like they're like animals in a zoo, where it's like, wow, look at these weird people doing weird things. Wow, this is interesting. Oh,
yeah.
And not take them seriously in any way. Like,
right.
I probably shouldn't say much about this. I'll keep it somewhat vague. But my roommate is working on a film for not a major director, but a director who's known for doing one big thing a while back. I'll tell you offline.
One big thing.
He's known for doing, or actually, he did one thing that did get an Oscar nomination. So he has worked on one big project. But my friend is working on a film for him, and this director is also an artist, and so he had some kind of like weird art gallery thing a few weeks back. So that was the art gallery that I told you that he was texting me. He's like, "Oh, dude, Andrew Garfield's here."
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but he's like, this director is so full.
All right, tell me off air because I can't think.
Yeah. But he's like, dude, this guy's so full of himself. Like he's like being interviewed, and like I'm supposed to be there like recording him. He's being interviewed, and he recorded a song at this art gallery. He recorded a song. It's being played at this art gallery featuring his own art, and they're playing his music. And he's got a guitar. He's walking around with a guitar, but he's not playing it. He's just walking around.
So he's just like a douche.
Yeah, he's like this old douche guy.
All right. Well, I'm curious. So
I'll tell you offline. But
let's end the episode because I want to hear.
Yeah. Anyway,
right,
thank you, everybody. This was fun.
It was okay.
Stay reckless, Ben.
Stay reckless, Joe.